Hey there, and welcome to Mindful Moments, your go to podcast for life, wellness, and everything in between. I'm Sarah, and sitting across from me, as always, is my amazing co host, Alex. Hey, Alex!
Hey, Sarah, and hello to all of you listening in. Whether you're sipping your morning coffee, out for a jog, or just relaxing at home, we're so excited you've joined us today. We've got a really great episode lined up for you, something that's relevant to pretty much everyone: eating healthy.
Yeah, today we're diving deep into what it means to maintain a healthy diet. But let's be real, it's not just about kale salads and green smoothies, right, Alex?
Oh, definitely not. It's about balance, making sustainable choices, and understanding what works for your body. You don't have to give up the foods you love, but learning to make better decisions can really change how you feel, both physically and mentally.
So, Alex, let's kick things off. When you think of a healthy diet, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
For the longest time, I thought a healthy diet was just about restricting calories and cutting out all the fun stuff like no more pasta, no more bread, no more dessert. But over the years, I've realized that it's so much more about balance and understanding what my body needs, not just trying to follow some fad diet. What about you?
Exactly. It's about fueling your body rather than depriving it. For me, a healthy diet is about nourishment, making sure I'm getting the nutrients I need to feel good, have energy, and honestly, just live my best life. And I think that's where so many people get confused, right? They think it's all or nothing. Like either you're eating perfectly clean or you're eating terribly.
Yeah, it's that all or nothing mindset. It's so easy to fall into that trap. You'll have one cheat meal and suddenly feel like you've ruined your entire week. But it's not about being perfect. It's about making small, consistent changes that lead to long-term results. Like if you love pizza, it doesn't mean you can never have pizza again. Maybe just have it less often, or choose a version with a little more nutritional value, like a whole wheat crust, or adding veggies as toppings.
Absolutely. I feel like once you get rid of that guilt around food, everything changes. Speaking of which, let's talk about those foods that are often labeled as bad. We've all heard it, right? Carbs are the enemy, fat is evil, and sugar is basically the devil.
Right, poor carbs and fats, they've been demonized for years. But the reality is, carbs and fats are essential for your body to function properly. It's all about the type and the quantity. Like, you need carbs for energy, especially if you're active. And fats, healthy fats, are so important for brain function, hormone balance, and even keeping your skin glowing.
Exactly. It's not about cutting out entire food groups. It's about choosing the right kinds. Like, instead of refined carbs from white bread or sugary snacks, you can choose whole grains or foods like sweet potatoes, quinoa, or oats. And with fats, instead of the trans fats you get from fried foods, you can incorporate healthy fats from avocados, nuts, seeds, or olive oil.
I couldn't agree more. And sugar. Oh, sugar's a tricky one, right? I mean, let's be real, we all love something sweet every now and then. But the key is to be mindful of where the sugar is coming from and how much of it we're consuming. Natural sugars in fruit? Awesome. Processed sugars in soda and candy? Probably not the best choice.
Yeah, I think it's important to enjoy sweets in moderation and maybe find healthier alternatives. I've been making these banana oat cookies that are naturally sweetened with honey, and they totally satisfy my sweet tooth without the sugar crash. It's all about finding those little swaps that work for you, right?
Oh, I love that. It's those simple swaps that make all the difference. Like, one of my go-to swaps is switching from regular pasta to zucchini noodles or chickpea pasta. It's still super tasty, but I'm getting extra nutrients and fiber. What about you, Sarah? Do you have any favorite healthy food hacks?
Definitely. One of my favorites is using cauliflower rice instead of regular rice. It's so easy to make, and it takes on the flavor of whatever you cook it with, so you don't even miss the regular stuff. Plus, it's a great way to sneak in more veggies. I also love using Greek yogurt as a replacement for sour cream or mayo. It's packed with protein and so much lighter.
Oh, yes, Greek yogurt is a game changer. And speaking of sneaking in veggies, have you ever tried adding spinach to your smoothies? It sounds weird, but you can't even taste it, and you get all those extra vitamins.
Yes, I do that all the time. It's such a great way to add more greens, especially if you're not a huge fan of salads. But I feel like we should talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to healthy eating, the dreaded meal prep.
Ah, yes, meal prep. It's like everyone knows they should do it, but nobody actually wants to. I'll admit, I used to hate the idea of spending a whole Sunday chopping vegetables and cooking for the week. But once I started seeing how much time it saves during the week, I was hooked. What's your take on it?
I'm with you. It can feel overwhelming at first, but it's such a time saver in the long run. Plus, it helps you avoid those last minute takeout decisions when you're tired after work. I think the trick is to keep it simple. You don't need to make elaborate gourmet meals for every day, just a few basic staples that you can mix and match, like grilled chicken, roasted veggies, and quinoa can go a long way.
Totally. I like to do batch cooking. I'll make a big pot of soup or stew, or I'll roast a ton of veggies at once. Then I can just grab and go during the week. And it's so much healthier than grabbing fast food.
Yeah, I feel like once you get into the groove of it, meal prep becomes second nature. And speaking of fast food, let's talk about eating out, because it's unrealistic to expect everyone to cook every single meal at home, right?
For sure. And you can absolutely still make healthy choices when you're eating out. I think one of the best things you can do is look at the menu ahead of time, so you're not caught off guard by all the tempting options. Most places offer healthier alternatives these days, like salads, grilled proteins, and whole grain sides. And if you're at a restaurant that doesn't, you can always ask for modifications.
Exactly. You can ask for dressings on the side, swap fries for a salad, or even ask for extra veggies. And don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Restaurants are usually happy to accommodate. It's just about being mindful and making conscious choices. You don't have to deprive yourself, but you also don't want to leave feeling like you've overindulged.
That's key. Mindfulness. It's about listening to your body and figuring out what makes you feel good. Sometimes that means having a big salad, and other times it might mean having a burger. And both are totally okay.
Exactly. It's all about balance. And I think that's a great note to wrap things up on. Healthy eating isn't about perfection, it's about making choices that support your body and your well being.
Yeah, and making it fun. Food is meant to be enjoyed, not feared or stressed over. So experiment with new recipes, try different foods, and find what works for you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in today. We hope you found this conversation helpful and that it inspires you to make some healthy changes in your own life.
You know, Sarah, as we were talking, it made me think about how much confusion there still is around what to eat. Like, we've talked about balance and moderation, but a lot of people still struggle with the basics, like understanding what a balanced plate looks like.
That's such a good point. There's so much noise out there, and with all the different diets and trends, it can be hard to know where to start. I think it might help to break it down to the basics, like what you should aim for in most meals. You know, kind of like that simple visual where your plate is divided up into portions: half veggies, a quarter protein, and a quarter carbs.
Yes, that's a great starting point. I love using that visual because it's so easy to remember. Half of your plate filled with colorful veggies, then a portion of lean protein, and some whole grains or complex carbs. It's such a simple guide, but it makes a huge difference in how you feel after eating.
And the variety in your vegetables is key. I know it's tempting to just stick with the same greens or the same roasted veggies every week, but eating a variety of colors, what they call eating the rainbow, helps you get a wide range of vitamins and minerals. I've started adding more red bell peppers, purple cabbage, and even beets to my meals. Not only do they taste great, but they make your plate look more interesting, too.
Yeah, a colorful plate is always more appetizing. And I think people underestimate how much flavor they can get from vegetables. Like, roasting them with some olive oil, garlic, and herbs. It can completely change the way you think about veggies.
Absolutely. And speaking of flavor, let's touch on one of the biggest misconceptions about healthy eating, that it's bland or boring. There's this idea that if you're eating healthy, you're stuck with plain salads or steamed broccoli with no seasoning. But it doesn't have to be that way at all.
Yes, seasoning is your best friend when it comes to healthy food. You can make any meal exciting with the right herbs and spices. I love using things like turmeric, cumin, and paprika for a little kick. And fresh herbs like cilantro, basil, and parsley add so much brightness to a dish. You don't need to drown your food in heavy sauces or dressings to make it taste good.
Exactly. And the beauty of herbs and spices is that they're packed with antioxidants and other health benefits too. Like turmeric, for example. It's known for its anti inflammatory properties. So, not only are you adding flavor, but you're boosting the nutritional value of your meal.
Right. It's like a win-win situation. I've even started making my own salad dressings at home. It's super easy. Just some olive oil, lemon juice, a little Dijon mustard, and some herbs. It's so much fresher and healthier than the store-bought stuff, which often has added sugar and preservatives.
I do the same. Homemade dressings are a game changer, and they're so customizable too. You can switch up the flavors depending on what you're in the mood for. Balsamic vinegar for something tangy, or maybe some tahini if you want something creamier.
Exactly. And I think that's a big part of maintaining a healthy diet, making it enjoyable and sustainable. If you're bored with your meals, you're not going to stick with it long term. So it's important to experiment with flavors and find what you actually enjoy eating.
Totally. And that brings me to another important aspect, listening to your body. I think we've been conditioned to think that healthy eating is just about following strict rules. But in reality, everyone's body is different. What works for one person might not work for another. It's about paying attention to how different foods make you feel and adjusting accordingly.
That's so true. I used to think that there was this one size fits all approach to healthy eating, but it's really about tuning into your body. Like for me, I notice that when I eat too many refined carbs, I get sluggish. But when I focus on whole grains and complex carbs, my energy stays steady throughout the day. It's little things like that.
Exactly. I'm the same way with dairy. I love cheese, but if I overdo it, I start feeling bloated and sluggish. So I've learned to enjoy it in moderation or opt for dairy alternatives like almond or oat milk. It's all about finding that balance where you feel your best.
Yeah, and that's something people often overlook. Food is fuel, and how it makes you feel should guide your choices. If something makes you feel good, keep doing it. If something consistently leaves you feeling tired or uncomfortable, maybe it's time to rethink it.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to mention that it's okay to enjoy indulgences too. Like, I love a good slice of cake or pizza now and then, and I don't feel guilty about it. The key is that it's not an everyday thing, and I don't let it derail the overall balance of my diet.
Yes, I think the guilt around food is something we all need to let go of. One indulgence doesn't cancel out all the healthy choices you've made. It's about the big picture. If most of your meals are balanced and nutritious, then a little treat here and there is totally fine. Life is meant to be enjoyed. B.
Exactly. And I think once people realize that healthy eating isn't about deprivation, but about balance, it becomes so much easier to maintain. You don't have to diet or follow rigid rules. You just focus on nourishing your body most of the time and allow yourself those treats without guilt.
Exactly. And it's not just about physical health either. It's about mental health. Being too strict with yourself can lead to stress, anxiety, and even disordered eating. It's important to find that middle ground where you're making healthy choices but still enjoying your food and your life.
Yes, yes, yes. Food should be enjoyable. I mean, it's one of life's greatest pleasures, right? And if you're eating in a way that makes you feel good physically and mentally, that's the sweet spot.
And that's what we're all striving for. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Making small, sustainable changes over time is what really leads to long term health and happiness.
Exactly. So, for anyone listening who's feeling overwhelmed by the idea of eating healthy, just start small. Maybe add an extra serving of veggies to one meal a day, or swap out a sugary snack for something more nutritious, like a handful of nuts or a piece of fruit. Those little changes add up over time.
Definitely. And don't be too hard on yourself if you slip up. Healthy eating is a journey, not a destination. Some days will be better than others, and that's okay. The goal is to create habits that you can stick with for life, not just a few weeks.
Exactly. It's all about progress, not perfection. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Before you know it, making healthy choices will just be part of your routine.
Well, I think that's a great note to end on for today. We've covered so much ground, from balanced plates and mindful eating to spices, meal prep, and letting go of food guilt. Hopefully, this conversation has given our listeners some practical tips and encouragement to approach healthy eating in a way that feels doable and enjoyable.
Absolutely. And remember, it's all about finding what works for you. There's no one right way to eat healthy. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. We hope you're feeling inspired to make some positive changes in your own life.
Yes, thanks for hanging out with us. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. We've got some exciting topics lined up, everything from fitness tips to mental health, and of course, more on nutrition and wellness.
Definitely. We can't wait to dive into those conversations with you all. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay balanced, and remember, you've got this.